There are a lot of people between age 50 and 75 who are currently exploring, how do I get dual citizenship with another country? Now, I am not an expert on this, although just a couple of months ago, I received dual citizenship with Ireland. Now, in my case, this was something I knew I was eligible for my whole life. Both of my maternal grandparents were born in Ireland and immigrated to the United States. Now, for people in our age bracket, there's actually a lot of us who actually have a grandparent who was born somewhere else. And there are several countries who will do this idea of citizenship by descent. If you had a parent, a grandparent, and in a few cases, a great-grandparent. But Ireland wasn't a great-grandparent. In fact, both of my children are mad at me that I didn't actually take the steps to guarantee my Irish citizenship before they were born, because they're both adults now and it does not pass on to them. For my wife, it would pass on if we were able to both move to Ireland for 3 years. She would be able to attain dual citizenship. But the great news is we can move to Ireland. We can actually move anywhere in the EU, and my wife can come with me, and I can work. In many countries, she can work, including we could move to the UK, because they have even though they had Brexit, they had a special agreement with Ireland because of Northern Ireland and Dublin and Belfast only being an hour and a half apart. They have a special agreement where you can live and work in each other's country. Now, I'm not necessarily looking to move out of the United States. I'm an American. I love America, but I am a proud Irish American. I grew up in a big Irish Catholic family. My mother was a first-generation American, and I am the youngest of 26 grandchildren, and I'm named after my grandfather. And so I went through this process, not because I had some thought about where would I retire, could I retire somewhere else in the world that was more affordable. I actually did it as a way to connect with my heritage and honor my grandparents. I loved my grandmother so much. I knew her very well in the early days of my life, but she passed away when I was in first grade. But I have strong memories of her. My grandfather, I didn't know so well. He died when I was 8 months old. But being the youngest of so many people, I was really interested in family lore and family history. So this became something that was important to me. Now, I bring this up because there are so many people looking at how do I apply for dual citizenship. And now I can only speak to Ireland. However, there was a lot of paperwork involved, and it all had to be certified official paperwork. You couldn't use photocopies, and you couldn't just say, oh, this is what I know. You had to be able to prove everything. So the first things I needed was my grandfather or my grandmother. I only needed one grandparent. I needed their birth certificate. Well, my grandfather was born in the 1880s in a little small area of Ireland, in a county that is not very populated even to this day. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find that. In fact, because most of my aunts and uncles and my mother have passed away, and none of my cousins really had this paperwork, I was able to track down the date of his birth. And because I knew the city he was born in and the date he was born in, I was able to write to that city. Ireland has the best records of any country in the world going back hundreds of years. And I was able to get a certified copy of his birth certificate. Then I needed his marriage certificate and his death certificate. Now, the death certificate was the hardest to find because the way it worked for Los Angeles County in California, I needed to have his name and his exact date of death. Well, I didn't know, and he's been dead for almost 58 years. Nobody knew. And so I had to figure out. It was a little bit of sleuthing to figure it out. Then I needed my mother's birth certificate, my mother's marriage certificate, and my mother's death certificate. I needed my birth certificate, and I needed my marriage certificate. And I had to compile all this along with some other paperwork, and I had to send it off. It took me about 6 or 8 months to get all the official paperwork in place and to fill out all the forms that I needed to do. But then it took another year for me to actually get the certificate that I am now officially a citizen of Ireland. Then I had to fill out some more paperwork and apply to get my passport. So the whole process took nearly 2 years. Now, I tell you this because a lot of people have this idea of, I want to get dual citizenship. How do I get dual citizenship? It's not an easy process. It's not a fast process. I knew going into it that if I could get all the correct paperwork, that I was guaranteed citizenship. So I was willing to put in the time and go through all the work. There are other countries who have different ways of doing it. I think Italy will let you go back to a great-grandparent. But the other thing is, there's a lot of countries, if you invest money, and I don't have this kind of money, but if you can invest money in entrepreneurial ventures and or buy property in a country, they will grant you dual citizenship if you go through certain steps. So if you're interested in dual citizenship, and I was only really interested in it as a way to honor my grandparents and to connect with my ancestry. But since I've gotten it, I've actually looked at opportunities to possibly going and working or possibly going and retiring somewhere in the EU or the UK. And I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I'm really excited about it. And the most exciting part for me is that purpose of really reconnecting with my heritage. I am every single day since I've gotten the citizenship, I wake up and I read something about Ireland, whether it's about the history, whether it's about the current politics, whether it's about history and lore, or whether it's some other fact about the Irish, the world of Ireland. It's actually a lot of fun for me to have done this. So I made this video because I get asked, ever since I said that I had dual citizenship, I get asked by a lot of people, did you do this in case Trump was reelected? That had nothing to do with it. But as things get crazier and weirder in our country, it is kind of nice to have an option. So if this is something you're thinking about, start mapping out what you have to do to be able to get that citizenship. I only know about citizenship through descent and ancestry, but there was a Facebook page called Americans Applying for Irish Citizenship. And the people on that page couldn't have been friendlier, and they helped me go through all kinds of things, especially when I was running into dead ends, trying to find a death certificate or a marriage certificate. They gave me ideas and ways to sort of sleuth it out. I'm sure similar things exist for Italy, for Poland, etc. So if you're interested in doing this, my attitude is, if you're making age 50 to 75 the best years of your life, take this on as a project. Go and get that second passport, if for no other reason to honor your ancestry, but also it's just nice to have extra options as things are crazy happening in the world. Have a great day.